Well, some may say that 16 is too young to have a story. That matters. I can tell you it's not. And here's why. Mental illness is a growing health condition and a heated topic of debate right now because in all of the school shootings, the shooters had a mental health condition. Some were treated, some were not, while others completely stopped taking their medication at all. It's easy to say they should have gotten help, but I can personally tell you it's not easy and can seem impossible. I have been hospitalized 5 times since the end of June for a mental health condition. I've been depressed for a while. It all started to go downhill in April of 2010. My grandfather died on Easter Sunday of that year. So my spring break was spent planning a funeral and grieving. After the funeral, we took my Grammy to the hospital where she had major surgery for a life-threatening health condition. My uncle and aunt moved to New York, so that would be the last year I would have the opportunity to raise cattle. My friends from middle school would all be attending different high schools. So my life changed, or as I saw it, I lost a lot of things. So I started high school friendless, and I would later find out depressed. I stopped hanging out with my friends after about the first quarter of high school. I went home and slept, and then I would wake up and eat, and go to bed, but cry myself to sleep. I don't know when or why, but I wrote goodbye letters. My mom found these, so I started intensive outpatient therapy, which is therapy for 15 hours a week for 2 to 3 months. They thought they got my depression under control, but they were wrong. In fact, if you were to ask me if I was depressed at that time, I would have said no. Why? Because I never thought that wishing I wasn't alive was anything abnormal. I thought it was just a part of growing up. My depression that they got under control, it didn't last. So I continued to suffer with mood swings. But I didn't tell anybody my feelings. Why? Because I didn't think I was worth the help. In this past June, my parents finally had enough and took me to the ER for a psychiatric evaluation, where I was evaluated and admitted to the hospital. At the hospital, I was diagnosed with bipolar, and they changed my meds. I was discharged and spent 5 days in the day hospital, where I went to the hospital for 6 hours every day for therapy, and then they discharged me to the intensive outpatient therapy. This cycle was repeated 4 more times. During one of those times, it was deemed best that I move out of my parents' house and into my grandparents' house, where there would be less triggers for me and a safer environment for my family. Because my bipolar is very depressive and manic, but my manic shows itself in rage. So I can go from very sad to happy to enraged in split seconds. Just ask my family. The last time I was hospitalized, my parents and I were told about DBT therapy, dialectical behavior therapy. It is a relatively new therapy that has been introduced within the past 20 years. So it's really hard to find and really expensive. It took my mom a month and a half to find a therapist. She found 2. The first one I went to was completely awful. She told me I didn't even need therapy. So I went to the second one. He seems to be a perfect fit. So right now, I'm starting to see him. I've done all my makeup work because I was absent for 25 days of this school year. This has not only affected me, but my whole family. My siblings, my grandparents, and my extended family. I mean, my grandparents let me stay in their house for 3 months without even thinking about it. My Grammy lets me stay at her house for the weekend. And my siblings have put up with a lot for the past 16 years. While some people look down on people with mental illness, it's not something to look down upon. It's just like diabetes, except you can't test the chemical levels in your brain like you can the blood sugar level. I can personally tell you, and I'll be the first one to tell you, that I'm not completely stable. They're still working with my meds, and it will be an ongoing process, probably forever. But that's just a part of my story. There's a ton more to write, and it's a very successful story. I'm lucky to have 2 very educated parents with health insurance and good jobs. Because without this, the medicine and the therapy that I need to receive to become successful would be impossible. So the shooters, they could have not, their shootings could have been easily avoided if they were just able to get the help they need. So I challenge you to change the way we look at people and treat them because of mental illness. And think about it's just like diabetes, but it's a lot harder to diagnose. We need to erase the mental stigma around it because without the stigma, it won't be such a big issue. And we can avoid all of these catastrophes. Thank you.
Wow.
Thank you.